Welcome to another episode of JPod, Jefferson School District's very own podcast. I'm Superintendent Brad Kapner, and I have my co-host joining me, Chris Shaw.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good. How are you today?
Doing very well.
Good. Well, today is the episode for today is going to be about social emotional health, specifically the social emotional health of our students. And we have a special guest joining us today, Justin Ricecook. Thank you,
Hello.
Justin, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
Justin works at Jefferson Elementary School, has for many years. We'll let you describe here in just a minute how long
18.
you've been there. 18?
18. Wow, that's a long time. Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of change, and you can speak to many years of students struggling, and how we're supporting that. Currently, Justin's a teacher on special assignment, helping the school specifically with systems to support students with social emotional challenges. So our conversation today is primarily just going to focus on the elementary school and his work there. So again, thanks for joining us, and let's dive in.
Absolutely. Sure.
So Justin, can you describe what it's been like since COVID? What changes have you seen in kids? Has it
Many changes. Yeah.
really?
Absolutely.
It's different today than it was a couple years ago?
Yeah. Absolutely. Kids spent a year and a half in their own homes, away from other kids, limited playtime, limited interactions with peers, limited expectations, rules. So it's been an adjustment coming back, reteaching those skills, how to function in a group, how to work with one another. There's been it's quite a different population.
What about kindergartners? Like, because with kindergartners, there's all the preschool stuff that's happening. But if they didn't have preschool and they're just coming into kindergarten, so it's their first time in school, and if they miss that, I would imagine there would be a lot that goes on in just how to sit on a rug and all those different skills that teachers give. Did you see a difference in the kindergartners coming in?
Yeah, it's actually back up before COVID. We went from half-day kindergarten to full-day kindergarten a few years prior to COVID to prepare them for the skills they're going to need in first through fifth grade.
Okay.
So the need was there to increase their time in schools to learn those skills, and then all of a sudden COVID hits, and we actually went backwards with their practicing the skills, getting set up, and preschools weren't happening. So there's definitely a deficit in social emotional skills.
So if we're seeing a deficit, like if we're seeing kids not coming prepared in some way, does that impact their learning?
Absolutely. Yeah. The biggest one probably be self-regulation, being able to deal with challenging emotions, remain calm, pause, think, make a healthy decision. Those kinds of things were not necessary when it was just them in front of a screen or at home. But being among their peers, it takes a lot of practice. There's lots of, in social emotional, there's different competencies, self-awareness, social awareness, self-regulation, all these skills that require being among people to practice. So then being isolated made that much more challenging to develop those at that early age.
Got it. Okay. So just the year and a half or 2 years being basically isolated, being in front of a screen perhaps, or being at home, really played a major impact on their ability to socialize and to share and how to get along with others.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Did we see that throughout the grades, or was that just a primary, first, second kindergarten thing?
No, I think it's more dynamic in kindergarten because of the age of the kids. But absolutely, you take a population of young people where they're learning what kind of person they want to be, making friends, keeping friends, and then you pull them out of that practice. There's going to be deficits, things to work on. Yeah.
Okay. So is the school doing anything
We're doing lots of things. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. Like, what? Tell us. Like, how do we approach this?
Okay, well, first of all, we have something called PAX, Good Behavior Games. So it's from the Paxis Institute. And PAX is not an acronym, but it's an actual word. It's Latin, means peace, productivity, health, and happiness.
Gotcha.
And so it's a system of ways that are to work with students in the classroom, not really behavior management or classroom management, but building a community. So there's something where there's a PAX vision, and together the kids talk about what they want to see more of and do more of and see less of at school. Really common ones want to see less name calling or.
So there's like agreements. There's like common agreements in the classroom.
Right, and so that builds a safer environment when everyone has a chance to contribute to what they want their community to be like when they show up for school every day.
So it kind of creates little social contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of other kernels, they call them. So to get attention, there's a Pax harmonica. Instead of a loud, sharp noise, it's a calming sounds.
Oh, so it's like a trauma-informed practice.
Right.
So it's based on research.
Yeah, it's all based on research, and lots of kernels in there. Lots of ways for kids to self-monitor. That's the Pax's design is for students to monitor their own behaviors rather than being directed all the time.
Okay, so on that, so I when I was in a classroom, I saw something that was pretty cool. So maybe you could help me understand it. But it was I'm in there and all of a sudden I just and then I heard it again a couple minutes later. And kids are sitting there really focused and writing and doing what they're supposed to do. And when I talked to the teacher later, it was every time they sent a message, they were sending messages home. And it was something like a positive thing. And so like the kids wanted to do good because so they hear that noise, they know somebody, and they don't know who it was that got that positive thing. But it seemed like one of those self-monitoring pieces that the kid is trying to work hard to please the teacher or something like that. Is that
absolutely? Also Class Dojo is another. Parents are familiar with that because it's a primary communication tool.
Okay,
but it's also something similar in the classroom where teachers can add points to the whole class and kids hear that noise.
Oh, is that so it was more of a dojo thing than a PAX thing.
You're right. PAX is more about, so it's setting expectations, making it very clear, reviewing those expectations with the kids, then participating in an activity and monitoring throughout. So the harmonica is a monitoring tool to check in how they're doing.
And this is consistent throughout the school, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of the
that's what we're working
idea
on.
behind it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that a kid from first grade then comes into the cafeteria and the expectations are similar. There's better chance of success, less anxiety.
So wait a minute. So they're doing this in the cafeteria too?
Absolutely, yeah.
So everywhere they go?
Everywhere they go.
How about the playground?
Yep. The playground does still have a whistle because of the volume in the outdoor to get their attention.
Yes, was the harmonica wouldn't
it'd be very difficult for them to hear it. But also the noise level expectations, the language around that is all similar. And there are many other kernels that go with it.
Okay, well that sounds really positive. And so now, when did that start? When did you guys start doing PAX?
Actually, just before COVID.
Oh, really?
I was introduced to it and a couple others. And then through COVID, we got everybody trained.
Oh, okay.
And so when we came out, we jumped right in, and that's something that's being used K5. Yeah.
So that's kind of amazing, really think about it, because what you have is a whole school involved in similar. It's like a system-wide way of helping to reinforce good behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And create this great expectation so they don't have to worry about class to class or grade to grade what to expect.
Right. Yeah, and it continues on from grade level.
Right. One of the biggest challenges coming back in September is reteaching expectations. And if they leave one classroom with one set of expectations and have to learn an entire new one, it just slows down the ability to jump right in September and get started on academics.
So have you seen an impact? Tell me about the impact that you've since every teacher's been doing this in September. Have you seen a decrease in behavior, bad behavior?
Yes, we increase in we call them pro-social behaviors, things we want to see more of.
Okay.
And definitely, students have responded well. We can use the same verbiage from the program in any environment, and we get the same response from kids. So that's been really helpful, beneficial.
That's very positive.
Yeah,
That's,
I really like the reinforcement of positive behaviors.
yeah, very powerful. All right, so that's PAX. Are you guys doing anything else?
Yeah, RULER is another one. RULER is acronym, stands for Recognize, Understand, Label, Express, and Regulate. Is designed by Dr. Mark Brackett and the Yale Institute for Social and Emotional Learning.
So another research-based
Yeah.
practice. Okay.
Yeah, so it teaches with 4 specific tools. There is the charter, which is very similar to the PAX vision. It's a narrative about how kids want to feel when they come to class. They want to feel safe.
So every classroom has a charter, and so what does that look like? Is it something on the wall that the teacher writes up, and do they do it as a class?
Yes, yeah, usually done in the fall,
Okay.
and then try to review it again after winter break. But it is something that can change and kind of with the desires of the class or the needs of the class. I know coming out of COVID, safety was a big topic that came up.
Okay.
Now it's a little bit more about enjoyment, getting along with others, but it just is another tool to a community built expectation. This is how we want to feel. This is how we're going to get there.
Does the staff do it too? I mean,
the staff has done it. Yeah. We actually didn't review ours. I don't think this year. Years get away from you, but yeah, in the fall, it's a staff tool that we create.
So because I think it's important, the staff also go through it and feel and are able to say where they're how they want to be treated or what the environment needs to be for them, so that they also mirror that in their classrooms, right?
Yeah.
So what else? There's a charter, and what's another?
So the second tool is a mood meter, and it's a visual, color-coded visual. And actually at the elementary school, hopefully some of the families that might listen to this saw some big letters come home and the kids colored them. Okay. They're all over our wall. And the back was a descriptor of each letter. So it would give our recognize and then kind of a descriptor, and then the kids would color it. If you come to the elementary, you'll see very large mosaics of the word ruler in multiple places. So the mood meter teaches it's so that you can reflect on how you're feeling in the moment, and then begin to build your vocabulary of emotion. So there's not just one word for angry. There's frustrated, irritated, annoyed. And so being able to parse out exactly what you are feeling, you can better get what you need.
So all right, so let's talk about that. So when we're talking about let's say a third grader, and they come in, they show on the wall that they're angry that day, so they're in the red zone, right?
Right.
And so then are they asked to just talk about their feelings, or
they don't have to? No.
Okay.
No, it's an opportunity, and they don't even have to check in. Nobody's made to do anything. It's an opportunity, and hopefully with things like the charter from Ruler and the PAX vision, you've built a community where kids feel safe sharing how they're feeling. So there's lots of check-ins. Most kids do it. They have a magnet on the board, and they'll put where they are. The really neat thing about it is then the teacher can see it visually and then check in with that student individually later and find out what it is and try to either intervene, help them co-regulate, so manage their emotions. So it's become a very good visual tool and widely used K-5.
Yeah, Chris, I would see that as being really impactful, right? Because you've got kids who are now able to. We have kids coming into school who maybe don't want to talk about how they're feeling, or maybe don't have the words to express how they're feeling, but yet they have a way now to share how they're feeling in a way that a teacher might be able to come back and check on them.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it's really hard, I think, even for adults to be able to go in and describe how I'm feeling and express that thing. There's so much in our society that's you keep your feelings to yourself.
Right.
Express it, but I don't think it does anybody any good.
Absolutely, yeah. I would agree with that, and I think the more we're not used to, like we just said, we don't talk a lot about feelings as adults even, right?
That's true.
And so to be able to have a way to do that, and this is for our staff as well, so gives them something to. So does your staff have do you guys have a mood meter?
Yeah, we do an electronic version of it every staff meeting. I send out a link, and they can anonymously click, and it puts all of the staff responses onto one mood meter for all of us to see. And it's interesting to see as you go through the year. It definitely mirrors the stressful times of the year.
Yeah.
The last one we did, Chris handed out dilly bars, and somehow everybody was in the yellow, which is happy, content. Sort of.
Dilly bars will do that. That's the takeaway, right?
Dairy Queen plug.
Ice cream and chocolate always improves me.
That's right. It's something for us to remember. Every time we come to a school, bring dilly bars, and everyone will be happy.
Yeah.
It's the elementary school.
Yeah, it's also the mood meter is a tool that L of the ruler is to label it, so it helps kids specifically label that emotion they're feeling, so they can get what they need.
Very good.
And then I think moving on to the third tool is called a meta moment. It's another tool to practice because everybody gets something happens and we all feel it. We feel anger coming on. So being able to sense that that's coming and then pausing, and then have a plan in place, like taking a break or a breath, but having a plan in place, so that because what happens often with anger specifically is when we're triggered and upset, we do something that either we regret later or that damages a relationship. It makes it much more difficult to repair relationships after it's happened. So that meta moment is that kind of building that space between stimulus and response, building that time in there to, make a decision that you can be proud of or feel successful, rather than having to go back and repair relationships or feel bad about what you've done. Or so that meta moment tool is.
I think that sounds like one of the strongest pieces.
Absolutely, especially if these kids can learn it at an early age, carry it on into their adult lives. Because how many of us have not taken that meta moment and reacted to anger and other things, and then completely regretted it later?
Yeah.
So that's something I've been presenting to the staff this year, and I'm working on how are we going to teach it explicitly to kids. And I'm actually working on piloting something. One of the first grade teachers let me come in this week, and I've been teaching how do we teach this tool to the kids so they understand it and it's useful. So I've been working on that lately. That's my goal next year, is meta moment in every class, and it being
that's a great goal.
Easily accessible.
I think that's a great goal. They talk about when you talk about trauma-informed practice, and there's this term they use that, like, you flip your lid, right? Meaning that you just went right to anger. So you come to school, you had a bad morning, and you go, and something triggers it, and you go right to anger. And what I'm hearing this does, is it allows kids, it gives them a tool to be able to say, all right, I am angry, and I'm going to maybe go over to the corner and get into that space where it's, where there's a couch or something I can sit down, or I'm going to somehow, sit with a minute.
It's the tool includes to sense that something's changed, pause, think about your best self, think about when you come out of this, how do you want people to see you, or how do you want to feel like you've been successful, and then having a strategy. Do I take that break on the couch, or do I ask for a break in the hall, or whatever your plan is, but having a specific plan to help you be successful.
Wow.
And then the last tool is, the fourth tool of Ruler is a blueprint, and that's a conflict resolution tool that we'll be working on next year.
Very good, very good. Well, it sounds, I'm extremely impressed.
I'm very impressed as well.
The key pieces for helping kids regulate their own behavior are being put in place. They're being systematized so that it's consistent from kindergarten through 5th grade in every class. And we're seeing impact. We're seeing the results of that. And you've only been doing it for, a year, 2 years now?
Yeah.
So keep up the great work.
Thanks.
Yeah, nice job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Absolutely.
And helping us understand all this.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Justin, for joining us today. Everyone, that is a wrap for our episode of JPod. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.